Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today we're diving deep into the world of a fish that's as impressive as its name suggests, the Titanicus pleco.
And what a name it is. It definitely piques your curiosity, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Right off the bat, it makes you think, okay, this can't just be your average run-of-the-mill pleco. So before we even get into its looks and behavior and all that, let's break down this name.
Sounds good.
We're talking L273, the false Acanthicus, or even the Tapajos leopard sujamal.
Wow, quite a mouthful.
Right, it's got all these aliases. But let's start with false Acanthicus. Why false? What even is an Acanthicus?
Well, the false in the name, it actually comes from their scientific name, Pseudacanthicus. And this highlights a really interesting bit of fish taxonomy. You see, they bear a striking resemblance to the true Acanthicus plecos, which are known for their, let's say, impressive armor-like scales.
Okay, so like the knights in shining armor of the pleco world?
Exactly. But here's the thing. While the Titanicus pleco might share that same armored look, it's got its own set of unique characteristics that set it apart.
So it's like they're both wearing armor, but one's got like a slightly different style?
You could say that. For example, look closely at their armor plates, and you'll notice these rows of tiny spikes called odontodes. They almost look like rows of, believe it or not, shark teeth.
Whoa, shark teeth. Now that's intimidating.
Right. And these odontodes aren't just for show. They actually provide an extra layer of defense against any potential predators in the wild. But that's not all. They also have these distinct bony plates, almost like shoulder pads, near their pectoral fins, a feature you won't find on other similar species.
So it's all in the details. It's those subtle differences, those little nuances that really make the Titanicus pleco stand out. And speaking of standing out, let's talk about their appearance. I mean, these fish are absolutely gorgeous. The patterns on their scales are incredible. They've got this intricate, almost labyrinthine design that's so captivating. And the way they shimmer, it's like they have this metallic sheen.
And here's something even more fascinating. No two Titanicus plecos look exactly alike. Each one has its own unique pattern, kind of like a fingerprint.
Really? That's amazing.
It is. And when it comes to the males, well, let's just say they take it up a notch.
Oh, how so?
Males display what's called sexual dimorphism, meaning they tend to have even more vibrant and intricate patterns compared to the females.
So it's like the males are saying, hey, look at me, check out these patterns.
Exactly. They're definitely the show-offs of the species.
Love it. Okay, so now that we've established that the Titanicus pleco is one impressive-looking fish, let's imagine for a moment that we're setting up the perfect home for one.
Okay, I like where this is going.
What would we need to make sure they feel right at home?
Well, as with any fish, the key is to replicate their natural habitat as closely as possible. And for the Titanicus pleco, that means recreating the conditions of the Rio Tapajos in Brazil.
The Rio Tapajos. Okay, paint me a picture. What's it like?
Well, we're talking warm, flowing waters.
Okay, so when we say warm, what's the ideal temperature range for these guys?
You're looking at a range between 73 to 82 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a bit warmer than room temperature, but not too hot.
Got it. So a good aquarium heater is a must.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And you'll also want to maintain a slightly acidic to neutral pH, somewhere between 6.0 and 7.0.
So specific water parameters are key for these guys.
Definitely. And it's about more than just the temperature and pH. We also need to think about the flow.
Right, because they're used to those flowing river waters in the wild.
Exactly. So a good filtration system that creates some gentle current is going to be crucial. And then there's the substrate to consider. They like sandy bottoms with plenty of rocks and driftwood to create those natural hiding spots. Now, when it comes to their diet, this is where things get really interesting. The Titanicus pleco is a bit of a picky eater.
Picky eater? In what way?
Well, unlike some of their pleco cousins who will eat just about anything you put in front of them, the Titanicus pleco is a strict carnivore.
Really? I have to admit, I just assumed most plecos were all about that algae.
It's a common misconception. Many people think all plecos are algae grazers content to suck on rocks and driftwood all day. But not our friend, the Titanicus pleco. They crave a diet that's rich in animal protein.
Wow, so we're talking a menu of meatier treats for these guys. That's fascinating. So given their carnivorous nature, how do they tend to behave in a community tank? Are they the life of the party, always up for a little interaction, or are they more the strong, silent type, keeping to themselves?
They're definitely more on the solitary side. While not exactly aggressive, the Titanicus pleco can be territorial, especially as they get larger.
So those hiding spots we talked about earlier, those caves and driftwood, those are super important then, right?
Absolutely. Providing ample hiding places is essential for their well-being. It gives them a sense of security, a place to retreat to when they want some alone time.
Makes sense. And I imagine that means avoiding overcrowding their tank is key, too.
Exactly. You want to give them plenty of space to themselves. Now, while they can generally coexist peacefully with other tank mates, you do have to choose those tank mates carefully.
Okay, so let's talk tank mate compatibility. What kind of fish would be a good fit for a Titanicus pleco? And maybe more importantly, what kind of fish should we avoid putting in there with them?
You definitely want to avoid any fish that are known to be overly aggressive or boisterous. Think about it like this. If you were a quiet, peace-loving fish who enjoyed their solitude, would you want a tank mate who's constantly zipping around and stirring up trouble?
Right, probably not the best recipe for a harmonious tank environment, so any fast-moving or hyperactive fish are probably out of the question.
Exactly. And while their armor does offer a good level of protection, it's not an excuse to put them in harm's way. So I'd also steer clear of any known fin nippers or bullies. The key is to create a peaceful community where everyone can thrive.
It's about finding that balance, respecting their need for space and solitude while still providing them with a sense of community. Okay, so we've covered their dramatic name origins, their surprising carnivorous diet, and their preference for a peaceful tank setup. What else can you tell us about this fascinating fish?
It's funny, for a fish that has such a powerful presence, they're actually surprisingly tidy eaters.
That's right, especially for a large pleco. Some of their larger cousins can be quite messy, leaving a trail of debris in their wake.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've definitely had my fair share of tank cleaning adventures.
But the Titanicus pleco, they're almost meticulous in their eating habits.
So less mess to clean up for us humans.
Well, I have to say, this deep dive has been incredible. We've learned so much about this amazing fish. So for our listeners out there, let's do a quick recap of what we've learned about the Titanicus pleco.
Sounds good to me.
So we started with the name itself, Titanicus pleco. It evokes a sense of grandeur, of power, and rightly so given their impressive size.
But we also learned that the name can be a bit deceiving. They are, after all, the false Acanthicus.
Right, those fascinating odontodes on their armor, those unique bony structures, it's all in the details.
And then there's that stunning appearance.
Seriously, those intricate patterns, that almost metallic sheen, every single one a living work of art.
But as we've discussed, their beauty is more than just skin deep.
Absolutely. Understanding their needs is absolutely crucial for anyone considering welcoming a Titanicus pleco into their aquarium.
It's about respecting their wild nature, recognizing that they come with specific needs. We talked about the importance of pristine water conditions that mimic their natural habitat in the Rio Tapajos, that specific temperature range, and of course, their carnivorous diet.
And let's not forget about their personality, right?
Absolutely not. This is not a fish for just any community tank.
They need their space, their caves, a calm environment. Choosing their tank mates wisely is super important.
Couldn't agree more. It's all about balance, isn't it?
It really is. It's about respecting their need for space and solitude while also providing them with a sense of community. Which I think leads us to the most important question for our listeners today. Is the Titanicus pleco the right fish for your aquarium?
That's a question each listener will need to answer for themselves. But hopefully after this deep dive, you'll have the knowledge and insights you need to make an informed decision.
It all comes down to understanding what it truly takes to care for these incredible creatures.
Appreciating them not just for their beauty, but for the unique and fascinating fish that they are.
And you know what? Even if the Titanicus pleco isn't the right fit for your aquarium right now, I encourage you to keep learning, keep exploring. There's a whole world of amazing fish out there waiting to be discovered. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be ready to welcome a Titanicus pleco into your life.
And when you are, you'll be well prepared to provide them with the incredible home they deserve.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, happy fish keeping, everyone.